Right now, misinformation spreads faster than facts, especially on the most sensitive global stories. NVP uses uncensored AI analysis to verify the most controversial topics and separate signal from propaganda in real time. Instead of guessing who to trust, you can see structured verification and analysis behind every major issue. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream, and thank you so much for tuning in to another show. The American President Donald Trump gave Iran an ultimatum, and by the minute, we're getting closer to that ultimatum that came from Donald Trump. And he's talking about an attack that Iran hasn't witnessed ever before. He threatened the infrastructure to do with Iran's energy sector, the power grids, power stations inside of Iran. But also there's something that Donald Trump can do that would be beyond all of these things when it comes to Iran, especially after threatening to eliminate an entire civilization. Now, I'd like to pause slightly at this term here, erase an entire civilization, and explain to people the gravity of a statement such as this coming from any leader. You see, during the genocide in Gaza, we've been telling people from day one that allowing that to happen, not speaking against it, and not resisting genocide, genocidal psychopaths, this barbarity, will justify the act and make it normal, will normalize it. And then later on, it can extend to other parts too. As a matter of fact, it can come to your door. It could be your family next. Because people who have no regard to the loss of human life will not have any regard to the loss of your human life. People, countries, the decision makers in those countries, anyone who supports, for example, nuking another country completely, a country that has actually used nukes before, the only country in the world that used nuclear bombs against a civilian population, the United States of America, that killed hundreds of thousands of Japanese women and children, innocent people, elderly people who are not involved completely, and some of them still supported to this day, are now threatening Iran with something similar. And we can't put that past them. Why? Because, well, they've been seeing the bodies of the Palestinian children being piled up in Gaza. They're ignoring the slaughter of the Lebanese people. They hardly mentioned the little schoolgirls in Minab. So why should they care if they nuke a country? That's a possibility. Why do they think that way? They think that way because they are deprived of their humanity. They don't have any connection to humanity. You're talking about people who are child abusers, the Epstein cult. They are pedophiles. They rape children. They traffic children. They sacrifice children. Yet the people in this network, that one of its primary members is the American President Donald Trump, are not being called for investigation, are not being arrested. No one's looking into this. And as a matter of fact, they're leading the world potentially to a nuclear disaster simply because the American president is a child abuser, a child rapist, part of the Epstein cartel, who's being blackmailed by Benjamin Netanyahu and the depraved genocidal Zionists to drag him into their bloodthirsty wars against Iran. That's why. So we've established here that they don't care about the loss of human life and the loss of the lives of children. They kill them deliberately. They arm the countries that bomb children. And that is the President of the United States of America. He's talking casually about erasing a civilization. You can't get more genocidal than that. You can't get more depraved than that. You can't get any more inhumane than that. Threatening a country with civilization erasure. The civilization will die. Why? Because you're a child molesting, child rapist who is being blackmailed by the Zionists, and they order you what to do. That's the man leading the United States of America and hiding this. And a few questions arise after this. Number one, will he attack? Or is this an empty threat? We've established that they are happy to kill people. And if you're happy to kill 1 or 2 or 10 or 100,000 innocent people, you have no problem in killing 2 to 3 to 500,000 innocent people, or 1 million or 2. Same concept, just a bigger number. Is this another stupid statement by the American president? We don't care. No one should care if it's a stupid statement or not. It's a statement he made. He's the sovereign. He has the authority. He can make decisions. So we don't care if he is being blackmailed or not. He is the decision maker. And yes, there are a group of people around him, 100%. But he is the man who is making the decisions. And if he does make these decisions, then that will be detrimental for humanity and for America and for Americans. Then we move on to the following questions. Are the American people going to stop him? Is this enough of a reason for the American population to rise up in global or national resistance to impeach this deranged, depraved, child-killing president of theirs, who doesn't only kill people abroad, by the way, but kills Americans too? And no one should be justifying killing anyone innocent, by the way. But in case you're America first or whatever, he kills Americans. There's a notion amongst some people in the United States that they can't do anything about it. They pretend to be on the side of the people. They pretend to oppose the American president and his policies, but they'll tell you, well, you can't do anything about it, really. Oh, really? Can you not do anything about it? Or are you judged by any action you could have taken and did not take with whatever you can? Because a man, you see, who kills people abroad, who commits genocide, who participates in genocide, who makes it easier for a genocide to happen, who covers up genocide, doesn't really mind killing anyone, including his own people. Because again, they are detached from this human feeling that we as human beings will naturally feel. You know, feelings of empathy towards innocent people, feelings of compassion towards the loss of life of people who are innocent, who have nothing to do with the wars of the militaristic oligarchy of the United States and the depraved Zionists and anyone who is in this sphere, in this cult either entertaining it, supporting it, or being silent about it? In essence, it's already happening, isn't it? Because if you think about it this way, you have a man who is outright telling the American people that I don't want to spend money on you and on your healthcare and on your people dying in the streets because I need that money for the American military so I can go and kill people abroad. He's already killing you. You're already dead. By default, by the action or lack thereof of this president and his policies towards his own people. It doesn't have to be a bullet in the head that kills people. Although we have bullets in the heads of people protesting against ICE who are trained by the Israeli terror forces. Again, a bunch of rabid, deranged maniacs with guns. Why are we here? Well, we're here because they are enabled. The people go through constant psychological warfare, brainwashing, and propaganda to believe certain things to be true, to have judgments over other people and other nations, to believe that they are incapable of action, to legitimize crimes against humanity. Is that an excuse? No. That's just a description of reality. Now, if Donald Trump goes on this attack, that's another important question. Is he going to achieve his objectives? Chances are he's going to kill a lot of innocent people. They have the capacity. The B-52 bombers are already on the way from the United Kingdom, another genocidal country supporting Israel and the United States with not only the genocide in Gaza, but now this ongoing war of aggression against Iran. They're making their way to Iran, and they're about to reach in a similar time to that ultimatum. What are they carrying? Are they carrying nuclear bombs? What is it exactly that they're going to do there? Are they going to land one bomb or two or how much are they going to land? What is going to happen exactly? In Iran, if they do land these bombs, they will be killing a lot of people, but that would not necessarily stop the resistance against them, because Iran is prepared for all scenarios. They are also prepared for another scenario, and that scenario is them nuking back. The man who had a religious decree to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear bomb has been martyred. There's a notion that Iran had a nuclear bomb even during that time. That is unconfirmed. After his passing, and because many people inside of Iran were trying to convince him to change his opinion, there was a desire to have nuclear weapon in the form of deterrence. That could have been the case before and it was hidden. That could have become the case immediately after the war of aggression began by the United States and Israel against Iran, similarly to how other policies changed from Iran towards anything to do with their security or with their armed forces. So there is a possibility that Iran has several nuclear bombs now. Let's not forget that there was an operation that included, according to the American president, 155 aircraft that belonged to the American army, supposedly to rescue one pilot. Iran said that this could have been an attempt, a cover-up attempt from the United States to try and steal the enriched uranium. Why would the United States want to steal the enriched uranium now? They would want to steal the enriched uranium now because they know that Iran can convert all of that enriched uranium to at least 9 nuclear bombs. So far, we're only talking about Iran. We haven't spoken about the allies of Iran who told Iran that you can have a nuclear bomb at your disposal should you so desire, and if you are under a nuclear threat or if you are being attacked by a nuclear bomb. There were multiple statements coming from previous Iranian diplomats following the 12-day war during that period about a potential of a nuclear bomb landing on Iran. And the response was, if we get attacked with a nuclear bomb, we will respond with the same power. They didn't say at the time if it was a nuclear bomb or not, but we will respond with the same manner, in a similar manner. What does that mean? That means that they can have a nuclear bomb that is ready to be deployed in the right time. They're not necessarily going to wait for this position. As a matter of fact, there are many people now saying that Iran should have had a nuclear bomb, because if they did, then that would create a much bigger deterrence. History has shown, and the contemporary situation has shown, that the world is not governed by international law, by morals, by ethics, by none of that. The world is run by force. And if you have force, you have what you want. If you don't have force, then you're weak. Iran, of course, has force, but it doesn't have the same level of deterrence that can stop its enemies from crossing a certain line, which would be the nukes in this case. Now, if it would reach that stage, Iran would be able to continue attacking the United States and Israel with the same level of intensity, if not even more. And that is not like wishful thinking or anything. That is a reading of the situation. If the United States decides to attack Iran with a tactical nuclear bomb, let's assume it's one, it's going to have a devastating impact in that geographical location. If they're after the Iranian oil, they wouldn't want to land nuclear bombs on all of Iran so that they can have something that they control afterwards. The contamination, the devastation, all of these things. But again, we wouldn't put it past these Satans in human form, because they have crossed every line. The Israelis kill children and laugh about it. The American terror forces do the same now in Iran. And Donald Trump is leading them to that situation. Now, there are people who are refusing. In Israel, over half of the people who are asked to join the army, they refuse to be drafted. In the United States, more and more people from the armed forces are refusing. And those who are continuing to serve under the pretext or excuse of, well, I'm following orders, well, that's not going to help you. If you're going to be trialed after that for war crimes, you can be executed because you're getting unlawful orders from a blackmailed, child-raping, child-killing president, part of a cult that traffics children, serving a genocidal entity that went on a war of aggression against Iran without having any threat against the United States of America. No imminent threat, no nothing whatsoever. The heads of the military echelon, the heads of the intelligence community inside of the United States, serving and retired, told him all of that information. Yet he disregarded all of it. Why did he disregard it? Because he's blackmailed. It's not because he wants to serve Americans. It's because he wants to save his ugly ass from rotting in prison afterwards. That's why. They probably threatened him with a bullet to the head. They can execute assassinations, can't they? And he doesn't want that. And these are no excuses for him. He's responsible because he is committing these crimes. He's leading Americans to commit crimes against humanity. He is leading Americans to be in a more vulnerable situation. Because if this escalates and gets out of hand, the United States of America can be nuked at one point. He's leading his allies to a catastrophic situation. Some of his Arab allies still prefer to put their heads in the sand and ignore their own complicity and wrongdoing by allowing these American terror hubs to operate on Arab lands against other Muslim countries in the region and kill children from Arab territories, and they go and condemn Iran. That's also not going to help them. They're already getting hit because, well, the attacks are coming from their territories. He's leading his allies in the West to a global disaster. The entire population on Earth, almost in every part, is already feeling the impact following the price hikes in terms of oil and gas prices. Everyone is paying the price. So everyone has a responsibility. Everyone has a duty to stop this madman, to stop him from leading the world to a global catastrophe. Because if this would lead to a global catastrophe and a global nuclear war, and some of us survive afterwards to write the history books, they will write in the history books that a blackmailed, child raping, woman beating, woman abusing, deranged, satanic individual led the world to a nuclear war to save himself from getting imprisoned or shot in the head by the Zionist Epstein cult. Not a great way to end humanity, but that's a depiction of reality. Now, we can hope and pray it doesn't reach that stage. But the American president, although he can have a U-turn at any given moment, although there are efforts to stop this escalation, he has a track record of killing innocent people and bragging about it. And using this supremacist terminology that is devoid of any sort of respect or appreciation or empathy for human life, as if it's normal. They were brought up like that. The Epstein class and all of the Epstein cult supporters, that they can kill people and they'll say, we're killing the baddies, we're killing the terrorists, we're killing people in other countries, not a problem. They're used to that. But there's one other very important thing. And that very important thing is the fact that Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, has hit the United States and Israel so bad that it's leading the Epstein cult president to come up with such severe threats. You see, the rabid Zionists, whenever the Palestinian resistance used to put their child-killing heads in the sand in Gaza, they would go and slaughter innocent civilians. Why? Because they've been hit really badly. Trump now, after losing his existence in West Asia, really, we're headed towards that direction. After Iran showed defiance in his face, after Iran said, we will not surrender, we will break the hand that tries to force us to surrender, he's coming up with these escalatory threats against Iran, thinking that that would force them to surrender or kneel down. Why? Because Iran is one of very few free countries in the world. You've heard that right. The Islamic Republic of Iran is not under the thumb of the ruling elite, the cabal controlling the situation behind the curtains, power, money, politicians, blackmailing. And no one can influence their decision-making. That means they're free. That's true freedom. Not the fake freedom that they try and instill in your heads. Freedom of depravity. No, real freedom. Freedom to say no. And that makes him really upset. Why? Because you have a country that's more free than you. He's under the thumb of a foreign entity, a foreign leader, a war criminal called Netanyahu. Iran is telling him, we're not under your thumb. Or doesn't work like that with us. So he's finding it very difficult, and that's why he's resorting to these statements against them. Now, whether he does or doesn't, by the way, goes on this offensive against Iran, they are already escalating. They're escalating with the bridges in Iran. I saw a video where they bombed a bridge when there was a car driving under it. The people most likely died. What did they have to do with anything? And these are supposedly precision bombs, and these people have the intelligence to know if there is civilian movement or anywhere. Bombing bridges when there are cars and people on them. They started having more intense attacks now. So in effect, they are leading towards more escalation. And on the other hand, Iran is escalating too. Doubling their missile launching, targeting American-Israeli terror assets in West Asia, and threatening to expand further. Now it's official, by the way. They told the American president that if you cross the lines, then our allies will be shutting Bab al-Mandeb. Expect the attacks to reach the Mediterranean, by the way. So they will be choking Israel from its coasts, in essence. All of that shows that they are ready for an escalation, as they have been. Iran and what they have been doing during this period is proving to the whole world that they have been preparing for a very long time, and there is a mission to be executed, and they are executing it to the final levels. No surrendering, neither to the Epstein cult nor to the Zionists. It's not going to happen. Now, there were multiple things happening in recent hours because some people are concerned. Some people are thinking that this actually might reach a level where things will get out of hand. And we don't want to be in a situation where, we could have done something and we haven't. One of these attempts to stop this situation from going ahead came from Pakistan. Pakistan called on Trump to extend his deadline by 2 weeks and on Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that sentence is a problematic sentence, by the way. It's complicated because it's requiring concession from both sides. It's requiring a concession from the United States. Donald Trump will be viewed as a man who is having another concession now, another U-turn. He already looks ridiculous because of the amount of U-turns that he's done before. And now he will have another U-turn under any excuse. But the second thing, open the Strait of Hormuz. That requires a concession from Iran. Is Iran willing to do that? We've heard so far from Iran that they will not be opening the Strait of Hormuz, neither to US terrorists or Israeli terrorists or anyone in that sphere. Not gonna happen. Will they do that? And he's saying that they should do it as like a gesture of goodwill. Will they do that? Or will they not? So far, we've heard that Iran isn't going to accept a ceasefire. Either a full-blown settlement and a heavy price to pay from the United States of America, or nothing. Because they've been there before, too many times. However, Trump is saying that we got the message. The United States is saying that we got the message from Pakistan. What are they going to do with it, though? Washington says Trump has been informed of Pakistan's proposal and a response will be issued. Tehran is saying we're studying it positively. Was it a packaged situation? Was this already planned? Did Trump ask the Pakistani leadership to do that? Because that could have been one of the scenarios. He could have told the Pakistani side, listen, I am going to escalate. I am going to do this, to have this threat. Or just after it saying, do you want to come up with a proposal? And then they came up with a proposal. Because this is how it can work in many cases, by the way. You can have a situation where you have these things planned so that you don't get yourself in too much trouble. And there is a possibility. The difficult part of that, by the way, is any guarantees. If Iran is going to temporarily open the Strait of Hormuz because of a ceasefire, and they will be entering a ceasefire, it would look as if they are taking a step back. when so far they haven't taken one step back. Iran has only been moving more and more forward. They shocked everyone. Iran taught the entire world a lesson with what they're doing, with their heroism, with their power, with their resistance. The nation of resistance, Iran is. Iran is leading the humanity front now against the cult of Zionism and Epstein cannibalism and pedophilia. Iran is that front. And it's standing alone, almost alone, as a country in its entirety. We have resistance front movements, of course, here and there. As a country as a whole, they're standing up against the most evil, barbaric forces we have ever seen in history. You can't even compare them to things in the past, because the standards of the past don't apply today. No, today we're talking about, human rights and universal human rights and democracy, but they're doing that in this period. They want to liberate Iran. And the American president is getting a lot of criticism in the United States. More people are calling to impeach the American president. I'm not sure how far that would go, because the Zionists, they have a hold on the American Congress. They bought most of the politicians on the left and the right. And it would require a people-led movement. But the Democrats are saying that Trump is deranged and threatening to wipe out an entire civilization, calling him mentally unstable. I think that's been clear for a very long time now. However, any sort of change in that regard wouldn't really come unless there is a popular movement, a real uprising in the streets. Now, that possibility is still there. There is still nothing to confirm that the United States, neither the United States nor Iran, are accepting these efforts coming from Pakistan. We were speaking about the Iranian response. What is Iran going to respond with? Assuming it's only going to be an escalation based on what we saw so far and not actually going nuclear on Iran, because that's a possibility. It can go nuclear. We had a military source who revealed some of that information about the possible response coming from Iran. An Iranian military source explains to Tasneem the nature of the response if Trump carries out the threat. What did he reveal? They called this a potential madness by Trump if he wants to target the power plants or other centers. Trump's threats stem more from his despair and helplessness and from Iran's power on the ground than from strength and initiative. That's a very important point, as we've been speaking about Iran's resistance and refusal to surrender and constantly escalating. However, if Trump, in his madness, wants to get out of a hole only to fall into a well, we have prepared a black hole for him from which it will be impossible for him to get out of. The military source also stressed preparing qualitative surprises to counter Trump's madness, one of which is adding the Aramco and Yanbu oil facilities and the Fujairah pipeline to our list of targets. Now we're talking about strategic reserves. If Trump commits any crime, Iran will not hesitate to make the United States and its partners pay a heavy price. Trump is mistaken if he thinks that these threats will open the strait and lead to a decrease in oil prices. If Trump carries out his threat, he should expect the price of a barrel of oil to reach $200 in the next few days, indicating that these attacks will be immediately implemented on the ground. So they have an option, and they have multiple options. And this black hole that they're talking about isn't something to undermine whatsoever. We have seen the Iranian capabilities so far. We have seen them being truthful all the time with their reports. We have seen them with all of these escalations that are happening as part of a response coming from Iran against this aggression. And it wasn't only, of course, this military source. The Iranian parliament speaker also said that we will cut off every finger raised in threat against the Iranian people. Defiance after defiance after defiance coming from Iran. This was another post by Qalibaf, who said that your reckless moves are dragging the United States into a living hell for every single family, and our whole region is going to burn because you insist on following Netanyahu's demands. Make no mistake, you won't gain anything through your war crimes. They're not letting him get away with anything. Neither the Iranian army, the military, the IRGC, or the Iranian politicians. He's not getting away with any of that. Now, the United States is having these threats. There's another country involved. The country that started this, the cancer on earth, the genocide apartheid state. They dragged the United States into this, and they're preparing for something very big. They're clearly taking what Donald Trump said very, very seriously. As a matter of fact, one of their channels had a countdown clock, and you can see their despicable glee, you know. Oh, there's more murder to come, more bloodlust. The blood-sucking Zionists, they love bloodlust and mass sacrifice, mass killing. They love these things. But what we're concerned about isn't their depravity that we're used to. What the statements are from the officials who are running things on the ground. And one of the most important figures in this is the IDF chief of staff. So what is the IDF chief of staff saying about this situation here? The IDF chief of staff just said that we are approaching a strategic crossroads in the joint campaign against Iran. We will continue to act decisively and deepen the damage to the Iranian regime. That is coming following multiple moves coming from Israel that increased all of its emergency levels to the highest levels possible. Israel is on its highest alert it has been in since the beginning of the war of aggression against Iran. That means they know that something serious is about to happen. As a matter of fact, And this has been verified and confirmed too. Several, and to be more specific, 15 planes left Tel Aviv in 30 minutes after Trump's statements. These were the planes as they were departing from the Ben Gurion airport. And this has been confirmed, by the way. Who are these people in the 15 planes in Israel? Are they government officials? Is Netanyahu one of them? Do they know what's about to happen? What is the situation here? In addition to that, B-52s are departing from RAF Fairford, loaded B-52s. This is from the United Kingdom today. Keir Starmer said that he is not participating in this war. He is more complicit in this war than he would like you to think, just as the UK was complicit in genocide more than what it actually described to the people. I'm not participating in this war, but I'm allowing the biggest culprits and child killers to use bases in my territories to go and kill them. Does not work in international law, does not work in common sense. You are part of this. The government in the UK is a full participant in this act of terror and aggression coming from the US and Israel against Iran. Yes, they're not sending their military to fight, but they're allowing the biggest state of terror on earth to use bases in the UK to go and fly and bomb children in Iran. So he can sugarcoat it as much as he likes. Actions speak louder than words. Now, these B-52 bombers are the most strategic bombers of the United States of America, and they can have nuclear bombs. That's what everyone needs to understand. And if it's not nuclear bombs, it's very strategic bombs. That means that these people are genocidal in intent, and they are preparing for something very big. You don't just deploy B-52s for no reason like that. Now, with all of this escalation and with this possibility, you might think, well, what are the Iranians going to do? Are the Iranians afraid? Are they worried that the United States might actually land a nuclear bomb? This is what the Iranian people are doing. That's what the Iranian What you saw there was Iranians having a human shield around their strategic assets inside of Iran that they know the United States is likely to bomb. People in Iran are gathering around every strategic asset of the country, every bridge, every plant that the United States has threatened to attack, and they're sacrificing and putting their lives at danger in show of solidarity to their country. Do you think you can defeat these people? Western and corporate and mainstream media will not show you these things, of course. Because, well, why would they? You need to know the image of the oppressed Iranian people, right? That's the Iranian people. The men and women and the brave, noble people who are facing this act of aggression and barbarity from the most depraved, deranged, and barbaric evil empire on earth, standing up, resisting, even when they're bombed. I showed you the videos a couple of weeks ago when Israel and the United States were targeting protests of the Iranian people and how they were still continuing to protest despite all of that. Look at this image here from a bridge as well. That is the Iranian people for you. These are the Iranians for you. They know that the bridges are getting attacked with people on them, and they're standing on a bridge. How can you defeat such a nation? You will never defeat such a nation. These people prefer to die dignified than to live humiliated under the depraved boots of dirty Zionism and the Epstein cult. They will never surrender. What is he going to do? Is he going to bomb the bridges with people on them? What are they going to do exactly? And is that going to achieve the objective of the United States if they do that? Chances are it isn't going to be working. Musicians as well. It's not just the population. Musicians next to the facilities that are under threat of being bombed. How can you defeat these people? You can't defeat them. If they're willing to sacrifice their lives for the basic assets of their country, their energy sector and all of that, where else did you see that? And now reports that Trump is saying it's actually illegal for them to have human shields around these assets. Imagine. Deranged Trump talking about law whenever it suits him. And listen, he's doing that with the world's only Jewish state, isn't it? Right? Doesn't Israel call itself the only Jewish state, and you know, the Jews, and we protect the Jews and the Jewish people, and this is what they've done to a 70-year-old synagogue in Iran. Look at that. The Rafiniya synagogue in Tehran served as a house of worship for Iranian Jews for many decades. It was destroyed today in an attack carried out by the Israeli criminals. Zionism, a supremacist ideology, seeks to eradicate authentic religiosity that opposes its genocidal agenda. Look at what Israel does to Jews, to the Jewish people. Not only in Israel, but globally too. Can you see that? Israel did that. The so-called only Jewish state in the world. Do you realize how much of a facade it is by now? Do you realize how much of a big lie it is by now? These fake imposters with their fake entity, using religion to brainwash and use their own people as cannon fodder to go on endless wars and spread their depravity globally, killing everyone in their way of any religion, including their so-called own religion. Didn't they know that there was a synagogue there, or didn't they try and... Or did they actually deliberately attack it to show that, oh, listen, you're actually not that safe? Leave. Or maybe claim that Iran actually bombed the synagogue. Like they said, the Palestinian resistance bombed Al-Ma'madan and slaughtered 600 innocent Palestinians in the hospital. And the garbage mainstream media was repeating the same lies, unchecked, unquestioned, no nothing. This despicable class of Zionist propaganda and Epstein protectors. I bet you they are not going to show you this. How can the Jewish state do that? Oh no, don't do that. You know, you might hurt their feelings, right? Is that what they're going to say? When are they going to declare it as it is? Zionism is a curse on Jews, on Christians, on Muslims, on humanity. And it's an ideology that needs to become an illegal ideology. And any follower of this ideology needs to be either sectioned or rot in prison. Because they are calling, actually calling, to kill other people if they oppose them, including their own. And that's what they're doing in Iran. Bombing ancient buildings, bombing ancient palaces, bombing civilian buildings, bombing hospitals. Now, all of that is happening, and we had a recent report that a fire broke out near the Western Wall in Al-Aqsa. Is that related to the political developments on the ground, or is it something else? You see, Israel has been banning Muslims from praying in Al-Aqsa ever since they began this war of aggression against Iran. They've had restrictions against any sort of prayers for a very long time. They constantly try and change the status quo in Al-Aqsa compound. They have recently increased their repressive and oppressive moves against the Christian community. They banned the Easter events and prevented the Christian leadership from going and praying in churches too. They have declared that they want to destroy Al-Aqsa Mosque at one point and rebuild their so-called temple to worship Satan directly, or Baal, or whatever deity that they worship. Are they going to use these tense moments to try and do something with Al-Aqsa Mosque? Perhaps. They could. They're seeing the Muslim world around them. They're condemning Iran. The leaders. They're condemning Iran for attacking them. You're attacking our countries. Not to say that we have American bases killing you and we are, in essence, inviting you to attack us, but, oh no, we condemn you for having these aggressions. They know they can get away with anything. The custodian of Al-Aqsa Mosque is the Jordanian king. He helped Israel bypass the boycott that was imposed against them by Ansarullah in Yemen. sending tomatoes. They call him Malik al-Bandora in Arabic, the king of tomatoes, because he's been passing tomatoes to Israel. What is he going to scare them? They will destroy Al-Aqsa Mosque if they want to. And they would use the whole escalation without any problems. And Iran, in the meantime, is having strategic attacks. I mean, as we speak, they are not de-escalating or changing anything to do with their approach. They targeted multiple assets in West Asia. They targeted some of the biggest petrochemical complexes of the American companies, ExxonMobil, Dow Chemical in Jubail, and Sadr. According to some reports, this is coming simultaneously with additional attacks coming from the Iranian forces in the region too. Iran attacking American interests and bases across the region in Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, and Kuwait, of course, alongside the bases in Saudi Arabia as well. We spoke about the 99th wave earlier on. The United States is sending threats and warnings to its residents in multiple countries. Reports that they actually sent warnings to some of their residents in Egypt too. They're having a security alert in Egypt. Are they preparing to do something, or do they see that there is a certain plan? What is it exactly? They've recently had similar alerts with Saudi Arabia too, all of their residents in Saudi Arabia. And Israel is saying that they're on the highest alerts. People are fleeing, they're preparing. And we can see very clearly that things are very, very tense. And Trump might actually go ahead with a further escalation against Iran. He might not. Iran already declared that it's deploying its double attack missiles. Yesterday, I told you about the warning, yesterday or today, from Iran, that they will be doubling every attack that they launch, and they're going to begin using their twin launchers for every attack that they conduct. Shared one of the videos in the previous round of Iran doing that. So that's not stopping there, really. And the United States has no chance of stopping this. No attack on Iran will stop this, by the way. Even if they go and use the B-52 bombers, for example, and they target and they escalate and they do all of that, that is not going to change the facts on the ground. That is only going to show that the United States is failing miserably. This was the other threat that I wanted to talk to you about. US citizens told to reconsider traveling for Hajj as Trump threatens to wipe out Iran. Ongoing security situation. So they can't even protect their own allies. And now more and more people are saying that the numbers of Americans wounded and killed in these operations are in the hundreds. And before this attack, by the way, from Trump too, the attacks have intensified against Iran. These were some of the bombings that took place in Iran today from the US and Israeli terror forces. They are intensifying their attacks. So with or without that deadline, we can see a level of escalation. And the United States said that before and did that before. They threatened with certain escalations, did some of them before, right? And after these attacks, by the way, Iran also gave an ultimatum, a warning to multiple locations and assets that have any link to Israel and the United States, especially after the bridges attacks. This was one of them. Urgent message and a call to evacuate in the railway bridge 431 Rishon LeZion, Israel. To passers and the residents, this area has become a military target and is expected to be attacked in the next hours. Another warning, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, King Fahd Bridge. This is a very important bridge. This is the only bridge between Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. Again, this area has become a military target and is expected to be attacked in the next few hours. Sheikh Zayed Bridge in the UAE. Same thing. This place is a military target, expected to be attacked in the next few hours, and likewise with the bridge between Riyadh and Jeddah. Anything. So that is underway, as in with or without an operation coming from the United States or a certain escalation. That's coming. And whether the US will go ahead with the threat and have a big attack, that's not going to stop the attacks on the way. Now, of course, all eyes are on Iran now and whether this situation will escalate even further. However, we need to remember the other active fronts because they are strategic fronts. They are the only fronts out fighting this satanic cult, these child killers, whether in Lebanon, in Yemen, or in Iraq. I spoke with you about an ambush that Hezbollah had against the genocide state, and now the Israeli media is saying that this was one of Israel's worst military failures, one of the confrontations in southern Lebanon. Senior Israeli military officials have acknowledged that the ambush in the town of At-Taiba, near the Litani River, southern Lebanon, represents one of the most serious failures in the current war. Now, mind you, if they're saying this is one of the most serious failures, if they are admitting that, expect there to have been a massacre against the IDF child-killing terrorists in that area. Expect there to have been people exploded left, right, and center. If Israel is admitting, because they usually don't admit. And the Lebanese resistance also published a video about one of their recent attacks on the Nesharim base of Israel near the Haifa area. Have a look at the missiles that they use. They are using advanced heavy missiles. Let's have a look at this video.
يد الله مدت إلينا السلاح. يا صاحب الزمان، يا فاطر الزمان، يا صاحب الزمان. وأعدوا لهم ما استطعتم من قوة ومن رباط الخيل يا رسول الله.
That was the Lebanese resistance. And as we're speaking, we're hearing updates that are very important that the American president had actually agreed now on a 2-week ceasefire with some conditions. Let's have a look at what's happening here. Live updates. Trump agrees to a 2-week ceasefire after threatening massive attacks. Okay. President Donald Trump said this evening, just hours ahead of his deadline, that he agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks on the condition that Iran reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier, it warned that a whole civilization will die tonight unless Iran agreed to a deal before his deadline, and also threatened, of course, massive attacks. As this is coming in just now, let's try and get a bit of a background about this information. So he's saying that they need to open the Strait of Hormuz now. Will Iran open the Strait of Hormuz? Let's have a look at some of the information that is coming out about this. Okay. So we have a report saying that Iran agreed, or more precise details they're saying here. Let's have a look. A 2-week truce has been established between Iran and its American-Israeli enemies under special conditions, and Trump announced this matter, stating that this period will allow for reaching a final agreement and ending the conflict. This is very important news. We still haven't had it from official sources, but we're going to try and have a look at all of the details. The precise details will be announced within minutes by the Iranian side. Okay, that's one report that we're coming with here. Let's hear something else. The Iranian television is saying that Trump accepted Iran's demands to end the war, and that's why there is a ceasefire that has been announced for 2 weeks. This was one of the recent reports too. According to Iranian television, Trump accepts Iran's conditions to end the war, and with this, a ceasefire was announced to 2 weeks. Okay, there should be something perhaps coming from the official Iranian sides to okay. White House confirms Israel is part of a ceasefire. Iran launches missiles minutes later. Israel is part of a 2-week ceasefire. President Trump announced early Wednesday. A senior White House official told CNN, with Israeli forces agreeing to suspend their bombing campaign while negotiations continue. The confirmation came roughly an hour and a half after Trump's deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz had expired. The disclosure broadens the scope of Trump's Truth Social announcement, which had focused on a U.S. suspension of strikes against Iranian infrastructure. The White House official statement to CNN makes clear the pause extends to military operations as well. The ceasefire announcement followed Iranian missile fire towards Israel, which the Israeli military reported in the hours surrounding Trump's deadline. No further details on the missile launches were immediately available. And according to the reports, Pakistan secured the pause at the 11th hour. Trump said this in a Truth Post social that the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir personally requested he hold off strikes planned for Tuesday night. Trump agreed to suspend bombing for 2 weeks, conditional on Iran agreeing to what he called complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Will Iran do that? What is the actual statement? What is the official statement? We're going to go through and try and find the official statement coming from Iran surrounding this, seeing as this is just recent breaking news. Okay. He described an arrangement as a double-sided ceasefire and said Washington had received a 10-point proposal from Tehran it considered a workable basis on which to negotiate. Okay, so if Donald Trump is saying that, ladies and gentlemen, that you can call that a U.S. surrender. I'm telling you from now. If Donald Trump said that Washington received a 10-point proposal from Tehran and said it is a workable basis on which to negotiate, that means the United States has surrendered to Iran officially, because we know the points. Trump said almost all points of contention between the US and Iran had been agreed upon and that a 2-week window would allow final deal to be completed. He also said that US and allied forces already met and exceeded all military objectives before suspension was announced. Here you go. He's trying to now sugarcoat the defeat. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States is climbing down the ladder and admitting defeat to the Islamic Republic of Iran. If this actually goes ahead, and if Donald Trump indeed is going to do all of this, he's saying that he is. Let's try and see his Truth Social post and read through whatever he's saying. And we'll go through the responses that are from Iran, because so far we haven't had an official response coming from Iran. Okay. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran, agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran. There you have it. And peace in the Middle East. We received, it's confirmed, ladies and gentlemen, the United States surrendered. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe this is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America, as president, also representing the countries of the Middle East, is an honor to have this long-term problem close to a solution. He's mentioning, listen to this, okay? He can't get himself out of this, okay? Complete, immediate, and safe opening. Iran said they will open it. Complete, immediate, and safe opening. Fine. On what conditions, by the way? Who's going to control the strait? Is Iran going to be charging? He doesn't say anything about that. Then he confirmed that he had a 10-point proposal from Iran. That 10-point proposal, by the way, from Iran includes, to the recent reports that we had from Iran, dismantling the United States from West Asia. That's what it included, unless there was a change coming from Iran. Well, we don't know if that happened or not, by the way. But very important moment here, and it looks like it is serious. Let's see what the Israelis are saying. Okay, they were bracing themselves for bombing Iran and were very keen on it to happen. Let's have a look at what the Israeli side is saying. Okay. They're saying that Israel accepted a ceasefire and that there was an attack against Israel immediately after the ceasefire began. And they said that they intercepted a missile that was going towards Jerusalem. That is from Israel. Trump announces 2-week ceasefire with Iran. Israel agreed. Missile intercepted in Jerusalem area. About an hour and a half before the deadline is set, the US president announced the suspension of the attacks. The military objectives have been achieved. Of course, he'd say that, declare victory and climb down the ladder, right? White House source, Israel also agreed to a temporary ceasefire. Shortly after the US president's announcement, Iran launched a missile towards the Jerusalem area. So, final kiss goodbye, or what is it? Or a temporary kiss goodbye to the missiles? Or was it too difficult? You know, someone was itching in Iran and said, no, ceasefire, no, last missile, bang. Okay. We have to listen to what Iran is saying. So far, we have no official confirmation coming from Iran in that regard. Only what Trump is saying so far. All right. Okay. Here we go. We're having the details. We're having the details slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. The information is coming out. Okay. Here are the updates from Iran. The Supreme National Security Council says the plan, let's begin with the first one. Iran, the Supreme National Security Council said the enemy suffered an undeniable and crushing historic defeat in its unjust, illegal, and criminal war. Iran has achieved a great victory thanks to the sacrifices and bravery of the fighters on the battlefield. Iran has achieved a great victory thanks to the blood of the martyred Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and the wisdom and guidance of Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei. The United States was forced to accept a 10-point plan proposed by Iran. There you have it. Iran confirmed. The United States surrendered. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Iran defeated the Epstein regime and the Zionist cult. Congratulations, everyone. It's official. Iran confirmed. Because we had to listen to it from Iran, didn't we? The plan includes Iran, there you have it, maintaining control over the Strait of Hormuz, recognizing its right to enrichment and lifting all sanctions. What else? That's it. It's done. It's over. As in, this is a huge surrender from the United States of America. This is a massive victory for Iran, ladies and gentlemen. If this proceeds, and this is the beginning of that, and it likely is, it could be that there will be a deal, and there's going to be some very interesting stuff happening in the coming period and after it too, by the way, which will not be only taking place in the next few weeks or months. This deal, you will see the impact of this deal in the next coming years. This is no joke. But there are many questions around everything else too. For example, are the other fronts included? This is a question. Is Lebanon included? Is Yemen included in this temporary ceasefire? Is the Iraqi resistance included? What's going to happen with Israel? What's going to happen with phase 2? Are there certain things connected, or is it only relating to Iran? There are a lot of questions here, because it's very unlikely that Israel will all of a sudden, for example, stop in Lebanon. They could, but it's not very likely, to say the least. But that on its own, I mean, this is a huge victory for Iran. This is a huge accomplishment, a huge defeat for the United States and Israel. I mean, they've done all of this, and now you have this situation where they're confirming ceasefire. Okay, let's look at some more interesting statements that are coming in, because all of this is breaking. And by the way, thank you for everyone in the chat and super chat. By the way, one of you, I think, brought this to my attention. Thank you very much for the supers, and everyone who... Yes, John, thank you so much for that. You made it, you mentioned it, and May the Alchemist as well. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see what else we have here. So that was, of course, Trump's statement confirming the ceasefire. Let's see what else is coming in. Iran, of course, confirming the ceasefire on its conditions. Okay, let's try and go through Iran's 10 demands. Okay. According to Iranian officials, what are these 10 demands coming from Iran? Here they are. A guarantee that Iran will not be attacked again. A permanent end to the war, not just a ceasefire. An end to Israeli strikes on Lebanon and against Iranian allies. How is that going to happen? The lifting of all US sanctions on Iran. Iran agreeing to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Introduction of a 2 million fee per ship transiting Hormuz. Tell me that's not a win. Revenue from shipping fees to be shared with Oman. We spoke to you about the shared funds with Oman. Funds to be used for reconstruction of war-damaged infrastructure, establishment of safe passage protocols through Hormuz, a broader framework to end regional hostilities. There you have it. And it also speaks about the regional hostilities, which is very important, by the way. because it could include phase 2 in Gaza and end Israeli strikes in Lebanon against Iranian allies. The Palestinian resistance is an Iranian ally. Now, of course, the United States can commit to this. Will Israel commit? I mean, the United States had nothing in this anyway. They were dragged into this. But there are many questions. There are many questions, to be fair. And the Churn, thank you so much, said US Vietnam veteran here. All congratulations to the courageous people of Iran. Absolutely. I'm sure most of the world and most Americans agree with that, 100%. So yeah, for some of you who are saying about Palestine, this could be one of the things that are tied with it. But again, although this is very important news, of course, a very historic moment, there are a lot of questions. Those questions primarily surround Israel. You know, how is Netanyahu going to market it now to the Israeli public? You know, what is he going to say? We won. We achieved our objectives. We stopped Iranian missiles. We removed the enriched uranium. We destroyed everything. Nothing. It's 100% an Iranian victory because they set the demands. Whereas the United States before, they were telling them, oh, no enriched uranium, no missiles, no this, no that. Where is all of that gone now? It's not going anywhere. This is, I'm telling you, a very historic moment we're living in now, a very historic moment. Let's see if Iran had any additional statements. So we heard everything to do with them accepting or saying that the United States actually accepted our deal. All right, more information coming out. All right. So the plan includes compensating Iran for damages and withdrawing US combat forces from the region. Can you believe that? The United States has been wiped off. That's it. The United States is being expelled from West Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, the plan includes a ceasefire on all fronts, including the front against the Islamic resistance in Lebanon. If the attacks, that's coming from the Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, if the attacks against Iran cease, our powerful armed forces will halt their defensive operations. So Abbas Araghchi is saying, let's see you stopping first. Axios is saying that the first round of negotiations between the United States and Iran relating to ending the war is going to be held in Islamabad on Friday. The Iranian Supreme National Security Council is saying we have rejected all these requests until the objectives are achieved, including forcing the enemy to regret and despair and removing long-term threats from the country. Let's have a look at what else they're saying. So we have a confirmation so far from the Supreme National Council of Iran, from the foreign minister. The American side accepted, by the confirmation of Donald Trump himself, the 10-point proposal from Iran, which includes all of the details that Iran wanted, which is in essence an American surrender, by the way. And now it's about monitoring if this is going to be implemented on the ground. According to some reports, these were some of the last missiles that landed before this declaration against Israel. Israel said it intercepted missiles in Jerusalem. I'm not seeing an interception. I'm seeing Iranian missiles landing. This is the last missile before, yeah, landed. That's it. Not sure why they said intercepted it. Okay, back to what Trump said. And thank you everyone as well sending supers too, much appreciated. The children of Minab agree to the ceasefire. Children of Minab are martyred, of course. The peace, love forever. There's nothing to celebrate. You're saying this is a facade, a mistake by the country of my ancestors. This war will go back into effect so quickly and the people in Iran will feel betrayed. Mistake. We'll have to see how it works. If the United States agreed to the conditions of Iran, then Iran got what it wanted, in essence. And if there are agreements, guarantees, Iran will have the upper hand. Iran will be in a better position than it was. Do you understand that? If the sanctions are lifted, if Iran is charging fees for the Strait of Hormuz, if the United States will guarantee if no hostilities, if the US will remove combat forces from the region, who has the upper hand? Iran does. And again, it's about how we see it getting implemented, you know? Because all of it boils down to how things get implemented. Yeah, of course, you talk about treacherous people, but if they are going to commit, then what more do you want than that? Maintaining control over the strait, right to enrichment. No one is going to talk about anything. Lifting all sanctions. No one's saying a word about the Iranian arms or missiles or what have you. Israel was reporting before that they were worried that any agreement would allow Iran to accelerate their building of missiles. I'm sure they're still processing, you know, more and more missiles. And that's it. They surrendered. That is the United States of America surrendering to Iran, ladies and gentlemen. There's no other way to describe it. And now the United States is actually also saying, the New York Times quoting a US official saying that the US military attacks against Iran have been halted under a 2-week ceasefire agreement. Ibrahim Aziz, spokesman for the National Security and Foreign Policy Committee in the Iranian parliament, said the following in one of his posts. We told you from the start there is no option but to surrender to the great Iran. And that is indeed what happened. The United States just surrendered to Iran. That is one moment for you guys. And Iranian TV is now saying that based on the supreme leader's directives, the details of the negotiations will be discussed on April the 10th in Islamabad. In 2 days' time. They're going to talk about all of the details and But according to that agreement, the hostilities stopped. So we're most likely not going to see any further attacks coming in. And ZGB, thank you so much for that. Let's have a look at what else is coming in from the American officials or in general. So these were the statements that came from the National Security Council before, of course. Let me tell you what they mentioned based on the Iranian TV. Iran achieved a historic victory by forcing the criminal US to accept its 10-point plan. The US has accepted Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, enrichment right, removal of all sanctions. The US has accepted to stop aggression, pay compensation for damages, withdraw its forces from the region. Good news to the dear people, to the dear nation of Iran. Nearly all the objectives of the war have been achieved. The noble people of Iran should know that thanks to the sacrifices of their children, their historic presence on the scene, the enemy has been begging for a ceasefire for over a month. However, the country's officials have responded negatively to all those requests because it was decided from the very beginning that the war would continue until all objectives were achieved, including the enemy's regret and desperation and removal from the long-term threat to the country. The war has thus continued until today, the 40th day. Iran has repeatedly rejected the deadline set by the US president and continues to emphasize that it attaches no importance to any kind of deadline from the enemy. Let me give you a theory, okay, based on all of this that's happening now. That's my theory. And that theory is as follows. Donald Trump wanted a way out and wanted to accept the 10 points, but came up with this threat to end the civilization of Iran, and then accepted this surrender agreement with Iran to portray as if the threat that came from Donald Trump forced Iran to come and have an agreement with him, although none of the American demands were met, and only the Iranian demands were met, and the United States accepted them, and Trump accepted them with his tail between his legs. If we go back, Trump asked no enrichment, no nuclear project, no missiles, no short-term missiles, cut your ties with the proxies. No, don't forget all of that. Let's not forget any of that. Now Iran is telling him, Iran is imposing the conditions. Guarantee they will not be attacked, permanent end to the war, control over the Hormuz Strait, an end to Israeli strikes in Lebanon, lifting all sanctions on Iran, reopening the strait, $2 million per ship, revenue from shipping fees, a broader framework to end regional hostilities. So that was the report that came in Press TV in Iran. And these are the updated 10 points. Let's have a look. Iran has declared the historic and crushing defeat of the United States and the Israeli regime after 40 days of war, announcing that Washington has been forced to accept a 10-point Iranian proposal that includes a permanent ceasefire, the lifting of all sanctions, and the withdrawal of US combat forces from the region. In a statement addressed to the noble, great, and heroic nation of Iran, the Supreme National Security Council said the enemy had suffered an undeniable defeat and now saw no way forward but to submit to the will of the great nation of Iran, an honorable axis of resistance. The announcement comes on day 40 of the US-Israeli war of aggression against Iran, which began with the assassination of the leader, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, and top-ranking commanders on Feb 28th. According to the statement, the US agreed to a 10-point plan proposal that fundamentally commits Washington to, non-aggression against Iran, continued Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz, acceptance of Iran's right to uranium enrichment, the lifting of all primary and secondary sanctions. This is very important because the United States had layers of sanctions against Iran and Iranian bodies and the IRGC and what have you. The termination of all UN Security and IAEA board governors' resolutions against Iran. Wow. Compensation for damages inflicted on Iran. The withdrawal of US combat forces from the region. The cessation of war on all fronts, including against the Islamic resistance in Lebanon. Iran has achieved a great victory and has forced criminal America to accept its own 10-point proposal, the statement said. The statement by the top security body described the past 40 days as one of the heaviest combined battles in history, in which Iran and its allies in Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, and occupied Palestine inflicted blows that the historical memory of the world will never forget. Oh no, we will never forget. We will never forget, I promise you. Iran and the resistance have almost completely destroyed the American military machine in the region. They have inflicted crushing and deep blows on the vast infrastructure and capabilities that the enemy had built and deployed around the region over many years for this war against Iran. Statement added, within the occupied territories, resistance forces had dealt devastating and crushing blows to the enemy's forces, infrastructure, facilities, and assets. It further stated that the United States understood as early as 10 days into the war that it could not win. Not only did none of the enemy's main objectives materialize, this is crucial, but the enemy realized from about 10 days of the war that it would have no ability to win this war. For this reason, through various channels and methods, the enemy began efforts to establish contact with Iran and request a ceasefire. The top security body further said the enemy had initially imagined a quick military victory, believing Iran's missile and drone capabilities would be quickly extinguished, and noted that the vile global Zionism had convinced the ignorant president of the... That is so accurate, my goodness. The vile global Zionism had convinced the ignorant president of the United States that the war would finish in Iran. That was so accurate. While declaring victory, that top security body also urged continued vigilance. We congratulate the people of Iran on this victory. Congratulations to Iran and all of the free people of the world. And emphasize that until the details of this victory are finalized, there remains a need for resilience and prudence of officials and the preservation of unity and solidarity among the people of Iran. The Iranian announcement came hours after Trump said he had agreed to a 2-week suspension of bombing and attacks on Iran, subjected to Tehran reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Carefully calculated. I'm telling you. Donald Trump wanted to do this. He came up with a threat so that he can agree in the evening and try and show it as if Iran actually did that when he orchestrated that with the leaders of Pakistan. I told you in the beginning that this could have been coordinated between him and Pakistan, right? That proves it. He coordinated it with them. He said, I want to finish, and let me issue a threat, and in the evening I'll accept the ceasefire. You say that, oh yeah, I'm coming up with a proposal all of a sudden. So very, very interesting. Let's have a look. And thank you everyone for your supers, much appreciated. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Let's have a look at what else is coming in terms of statements coming from Iran and the United States. Okay. After all of these declarations, listen to this. The attacks are continuing from Yemen. The confrontations with Lebanon are continuing. And just as we speak now, the Israeli Home Front Command is saying that they are monitoring missile launches from Iran. Okay? This is just coming in now. The Israeli Home Front Command, after the declaration of the ceasefire, is saying that missile launches are detected from Iran. So what did Israel not confirm with the United States? Is the United States going to leave Israel and Iran? That's going to be interesting, isn't it? Israeli media saying security officials confirmed that the ceasefire also includes Lebanon. They also had missiles launched from Yemen after the declaration of the ceasefire. Iranian TV saying it was decided to hold negotiations in Islamabad in order to finalize the details given the superiority of Iran and the axis of resistance on the ground. Indeed, 100%. So they're still continuing to exchange blows. Don't veto the Trump and American media are saying Iran surrendered. Of course they're going to say that. But go listen, read the details. Trump himself, the statement, he said they accepted the 10-point plan. Look, he said it's a 10-point plan. 100%. Peace, love forever. I reiterate again, this is not a win nor time for celebration. I disagree. I think it is a win, and I think it's important to celebrate. But the entity remains. I agree with you on that one. There will not be security as the entity remains. You're 100% right with that, and that's one of the things that are going to remain a problem, by the way. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we need to describe everything as it is. It's an 100% a win for Iran, 100% surrender from the United States. I mean, look at the statement. Says it as it is. We received the 10-point proposal. When he said the complete and immediate safe reopening, he did that strategically. Why did he do that from the beginning? To show as if Iran accepted a deal. Do you know what I mean? So I think it is actually a victory for Iran, and it's important to celebrate it, 100%. An Iranian victory, a resistance victory. This is a victory for humanity because the Epstein cult has been smacked in its face. It's a defeat for Zionism. Yes, there is still Zionism there. It hasn't ended with them, no. But this is a victory, a huge victory. How do you calculate victory? Let me explain that to you and everyone else. Victory in military terms is described as the achievement of your military objectives. If the country you're waging war against makes you fail in achieving your objectives, then you failed and they won. That's number one. And we're not going to go into all of the victories of Iran in this, by the way. The conditions, the lifting of sanctions, the Strait, all of that. Massive victories. But let's go through the demands, the objectives of the war. What were the objectives of the war? Toppling the regime. Did we forget that? That's why they started saying regime has changed. They declared it unilaterally. When the son of Khamenei is there. When the current establishment here in Iran, by the way, is going to be stronger, way stronger than any previous establishment, by the way. Because it has the support of the people. It has the glory that it wants. It has the support of everyone on earth. That's what they have now. And take down the regime, they said. No nukes, they said. No missiles, they said. No proxies, they said. Did any of these things happen? None of them. Yvonne, thank you. Said, Mahmoud, could it be that someone in Trump's orbit has threatened Trump with the 25th Amendment to remove him from office? American friends here confirm that this could be the case. It could be the case, yeah. Because there was a genuine risk. And he would have portrayed it to the Israelis likewise, but it could have been a combination of things. And I think we can never take away the military impact. This was a military defeat for the United States. This is a strategic defeat for the United States. So whether he was threatened with impeachment or not, he has been defeated heavily. He has been humiliated. The empire has been defeated by Iran and the resistance front and their little apartheid state that will no longer be in the near future. That's what happened. Let's not fall for any of their propaganda, but what you're saying could be true too, because that was actually very real, the threat of impeachment. And Faya, thank you. Faye, average Canadian. Trump is a born liar. He is leaving the dirty war crimes to Israel. The best thing would be if he leaves it to Israel. If the United States takes itself out and leaves Israel with Iran. That is because Israel doesn't survive without them. If they left it for, that's it, done. And he's going to blame everyone. He will be claiming that this is a victory, of course, and that Iran surrendered. Khalid Razak, MahmoodOD, you kept it all going through this. Shukr akhi. Pleasure, brother. And I will continue. There's a lot more, trust me. There's a lot more coming in the next few years. And not just 1 or 2 days or months, because these changes that are happening are going to take a lot of time. And many of the things that are agreed upon take time to be implemented. Look at, for example, any sort of deal that would happen between one country or another, and the implementation phase, and then the impact that that would have on the region. All of these things are very important. So let's see what else the Iranian side is saying about this. So what we understand so far, a ceasefire has been declared. Iran is saying that there is an agreement. Foreign Minister says if they stop the aggression, we will stop. The Israelis, it's not very clear yet. Iran and Yemen launched missiles on Israel after the declared ceasefire. What are they gonna say exactly? Trump, in his statement here, I can't see a mention of Israel. I can't see a mention of Israel. Did you notice that? So there could be a tricky situation. Listen, now there are sirens on Israel, by the way. And there are still attacks happening. So is Israel out in, what is it exactly? Now expect the fuel costs to go down after this, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if they start going down from tomorrow. That's almost certain, by the way. And everyone sending supers, much appreciated. Thank you so much for your supers, everyone in the chat. See, that's the thing. I think it is. I mean, Trump isn't saying anything. Did he put Israel in that situation? Maybe. Could be, because Iran was continuing to attack Israel. So is he going to put Netanyahu in this situation where he's going to say, that's it, you deal with them? Trump made Iran great again, 100%. Sailing ma'am, if no US force left, open the strait is a small price for Iran to deal with Israel and the Palestinian cause, right? Thanks, Mahmoud. Listen, it's a strategic win. That is the key thing. This is a strategic win by military definition, by strategic definition, by political definition, by political definition, by economic definition. A huge strategic win for Iran. And there are problems that are going to continue, absolutely. But this battle, war of aggression against Iran, this is a strategic defeat for the United States and Israel. Assuming Israel's included, listen, I haven't had an official, I didn't read anything to confirm from Israel that they're included. And Iran is targeting Israel. As in, as we speak, there were targets against Israel. So it's going to be very interesting to know if that happens or... See, I'll share with you some of the... Look at that. This is just now. Launches to the Sharon and central regions were identified. That's Iran. Missile launch south was intercepted according to them. Alarms in Beersheba and the Gaza Strip. Launches to the south identified. Oh, and there is no confirmation that Israel is included. So Iran is continuing to attack Israel. Do you understand? So it would be very interesting to see how it unfolds with Israel, because if Israel is being attacked at the same time, then something is happening. The so-called allies are probably in a very tough situation. I mean, we've been talking about them, these so-called allies, and their toxic relationship. And see that? Look at what Israel said. Immediately after Trump's ceasefire announcement, Iranian firing at the center and Jerusalem area. So, yeah, no reports of U.S. attacks or against attacks on U.S. bases, but and yeah, it could be Trump leaving Israel to fend for itself. Aziz, you think Iran, thank you guys for your supers, by the way. You think also Iran discussed a move with China and Russia? And did you see the conflict between Ben Gvir and Hakim Ziyech, the soccer player? No, I haven't actually seen their conflict, but I believe that there would definitely be a coordination with China and Russia because they're strategic partners of Iran. And the Russian and Chinese sides were in constant talks with them to do with the developments on the ground. Russia actually tried to play a part to mediate. And China is very concerned, of course. 90% of Iranian oil was going to China. Now it's going to go to the world. You're going to get cheap Iranian oil, ladies and gentlemen. Brace yourselves. And sanctions are lifted. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. But they definitely did coordinate. They were definitely in the picture, China and Russia. I believe China and Russia strategically supported Iran. Salah ad-Din, thank you as well. He said, if Israel isn't included in the deal, how long do you think they will last before collapse? Iran seems to have promised they will not stop until then. I think that Israel isn't lasting very long anyway. So with this ceasefire, without the ceasefire, Israel as a neo-colonialist, apartheid, terrorist enterprise should not exist. There should be equal rights between the Jordan River to the sea. So long as that is not accomplished, Israel will be a threat on humanity as a whole, Zionism as an ideology too. And they will be on their way out, as in now they don't have legitimacy from the global population. Everyone saw their true colors. Whenever Israel was attacked, people across the globe were celebrating. Iran is the champion of humanity now, the forefront of humanity against the Epstein Zionist class. And they don't have much left, Israel, even if this gives them a bit of time, whatever it is. Because the legitimacy of their enterprise and their existence as a neo-colonialist, racist, apartheid ethnocracy, a Jewish supremacy, is gone forever, by the way. And no one is going to bring that back. And trust me, they have been only surviving by this support from the United States, legitimization from Western establishment, and lack of action and complicity to a large extent from some of the Arab and Muslim states surrounding Israel too. Official J. Beverly, much respect, Mohammed. Thank you. American here. Welcome. Many Persian friends and no love for this war. Thank you for what you do, brother. All the best. Thank you so much, brother. And everyone listening from the US. I think the majority of the viewers are from the US, to be fair. Thank you so much, brother. And Wei Tuchi, what about the lobbyist of our greatest ally? They won't be too happy. Brace for a false flag. There will never be peace and stability so long as Zionism is there. Never. So long as they're there, there are going to be problems. But then again, this is a part of the battle. And this is a victory to be celebrated. Some of them are going to lobby. Some of them understand very well that there was no way out. And the Israeli public started to feel the pressure anyway. The government started to block all sorts of protests and stuff. They've been feeling the problems. And Rick, thank you as well. And Iran absolutely is fighting the spiritual battle for all of us. They're fighting for humanity. Iran. And Anastasia as well, thank you so much. Much appreciated for that. Hold on a second. Is that true? Source Paul X Web, the Revolutionary God said the agreement does not include Israel. Are you serious? Let me have a look. if that is if that is serious, then I'm telling you, this is going to be a very interesting thing. I mean, they've been attacking, so Pakistan is saying the ceasefire is due immediately, is taking effect immediately. This is what the Pakistani Prime Minister said. The ceasefire is effective immediately everywhere, including Lebanon and any other locations. Oh my goodness, listen to this though. I am pleased to announce the agreement on the immediate ceasefire between America, Iran, and their allies. Okay, their allies. Whose allies? America's or Iran's allies? They're not mentioning Israel. Okay, there's a good chance that it doesn't include Israel. That would be hilarious, by the way. It would be hilarious if the United States did that without informing Israel. Let me have a look. I just... because there are no statements from Israel so far. As we're speaking, there are sirens inside of Israel and the central parts, Tel Aviv, and surrounding areas. And Iran is confirming that the points that they had prevent them from targeting the resistance front. But again, Israel isn't meant, it's still being attacked. And did you notice that Trump, for the first time, is using the term the Islamic Republic of Iran? It's no longer Iran, just he's saying, right? This is Shabazz Sharif. With the greatest humility, I am pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, so he would include Israel, if Israel considers itself an ally rather than a boss, have agreed to an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. I warmly welcome the gracious, sagacious gesture and extend deepest gratitude to the leadership of both countries and invite their delegations to Islamabad on Friday, 10th of April, to further negotiate for a conclusive agreement to settle all dispute. Both parties displayed remarkable wisdom and understanding and have remained constructively engaged. I'm telling you, this is coordinated with Trump for the cause of peace and stability, with earnest hope that the Islamabad talks succeed in achieving sustainable peace and which share more good news in the coming days. This has been, in my opinion, Trump called Shabazz Sharif, told him, I want to climb down the ladder. I'm going to make a threat, post in the evening, so I can declare that we reached a ceasefire. And it would be seen as if Iran came to the ceasefire rather than we begged for it, right? And he confirmed that they adhere to all of the Iranian points. I'm telling you. And Mahib, thank you so much. Thank you, Mahmoud. My pleasure, my friend, always. Do you think the ceasefire time will hold? The US has broken many previous ceasefires multiple times. It was actually Israel that broke many ceasefires multiple times. If we look at the agreement that the United States had with the Taliban, for example, it's still there. It's ongoing. They would have an interest in having an agreement settled with Iran because they have been hammered really hard. Iran has punished the United States administration and forces in the region very harshly, and they have no interest. They have tasted the bitterness of the Iranian power and the might of the Iranian power, and trust you me, they don't want to go back to the same situation again. Iran has hammered them so hard that they were begging for a ceasefire from the beginning. All of this talk and macho show from Donald Trump was clearly a show of intimidation, as if he has the upper hand. He has the lower hand. Iran is above him. And they made him kneel down. And this victory, trust me, it's a victory for Americans. It's a victory for the whole world. It's a victory for the free people of the world. It's not just a victory for Iran, because Iran was fighting the epitome of evil. So the Americans who were against it, this is the victory for them. A victory for their sons, whom the American president wanted to send and go and die for a genocidal satanic death cult. That's a victory for these Americans. That's a victory of free people from all religions and atheists who are against this Zionist Epstein class, to everyone. A victory for everyone. And I think that it will hold. I think it can hold. Anything against that would be destructive. What, only escalation and uncertainty for the whole world? What, they want to nuke them? I told you the Iranian nation will not surrender even with nukes. They won't surrender. You saw them surrounding the areas now. People protecting their assets as human shields around their power grids and these locations. That's Iran. And Mark Fagan, congratulations for the people of Iran and the resistance. Never doubt strength and resilience. Absolutely. Natron, Mahmoud USC, great work on your coverage from October 7th till now. Thank you so much, my friend. And we will continue, of course. Much appreciated. Marvin, you see Syria trying to get Mount Hermon, Golan Heights back. I don't think anytime soon. I mean, anyone who wanted to do something, he had an opportunity now. But no, through diplomacy, maybe, through diplomacy. And listen, we hope the world ends conflicts with diplomacy. Wouldn't that be great? No wars, no death, no bloodshed, and we can talk about, things in a different manner, other things apart from bloodshed and wars and how to end them. Lori, the world thanks Iran. Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I've said before, Loki, that Donald Trump will fall in love with Iran straight. He probably did. Trump was desperate for off-ramp and got his safe face. I agree with you, 100%. I agree with that. He wanted to save it. And I think he coordinated that with the Pakistani Prime Minister. He wanted to see. So if he would have gotten a ceasefire, it would have looked humiliating. They have been preparing the public opinion and the people for an end, because they said we have a regime change. We achieved our objectives. We obliterated them. We ended 90% of their stockpiles, 90% of their this, 90% of their that. Right? They did all of that. All of that was a preparation to climb down the ladder. Then they were waiting for the right moment. They tried to apply military pressure. Of course, they saw that Iran doesn't break. It only gets stronger. They were like, who are we dealing with here? So he probably spoke with Shahbaz Sharif, coordinated the call, and now he made the most intense post that we were talking about, a civilization will die. kind of a barbaric type of end of days type of post, only for him to be climbing down the ladder and hide the fact that he's surrendering. And Richard Clark, thank you so much as well. I think that the Israelis are acting weird because from what I can see now, no statement has been made yet by any Israeli official. And now they're saying that there are attacks against the north of Israel. So look at the list of attacks against Israel after the ceasefire was declared. Look at that. Alarms in the north, alarms in the center, launches to the north detected. And they're quoting the National Security Council of Iran, if talks fail, will not hesitate to attack. We're sure of that. And these launches as well, central and Sharon regions, south, Beersheba. So Iran is attacking everywhere in Israel after the ceasefire has been declared. And they didn't mention anything about Israel, but is Israel excluded? Even though Shabazz Sharif said they're allies, he was clear in his statement, and their allies, with their allies. But so far, what I'm seeing from, and Trump didn't mention Israel. Okay, all right. In Israel, they're starting to talk about this. Okay, listen to this. Did Trump bypass Netanyahu in a round? The drama behind the political upheaval in Iran. This is just coming out now. Trump pushes for Iran deal despite Netanyahu's opposition. This is just coming now. CNN reports that Israel has agreed to a ceasefire that will only begin after the Strait of Hormuz is open. Garbage. Garbage. Netanyahu and Trump did something probably with Netanyahu. According to the report, and that's on Axios here, let's have a look at the report on Axios directly. No, they're not mentioning it, but according to some reports, Netanyahu rejected the actual deal. And Donald Trump went ahead with it despite opposition. Diane, thank you as well. Congratulations to Iran's courageous people. Congratulations to the whole world, ladies and gentlemen. Iran has defeated the empire. Iran achieved a glorious victory. Iran and the resistance front achieved a historic victory and landed a historic blow against the Zionists and the Epstein cartel. Congratulations to all of you in America, to the victims of Epstein and Zionism, to the victims of Zionist silencing in America and across the world. Congratulations to you guys. That's it. We're witnessing history. We're getting there. We're getting there. Do you see the US dumping Israel? And I wish they would have dumped them from like a century. I wish they would have dumped them before their establishment. But listen, I hope so. I hope the United States dumps Israel and focuses on America and American people. And if they want to focus on anything to do with the world, maybe it would be something positive. If they want to spend money across the world, maybe spend it on life instead of death. I hope so. They could. Why should they? Israel is a liability, a despicable, regime and a brutal apartheid, repressive against every moral thing on earth that you can imagine. Everyone sees them for what they are. They've only maintained their existence through propaganda and misinformation and lies. There's nothing good about them. Why should they be with them? Why should they be tied with them? Americans support America attacking Israel. I had a poll a year ago. Who would you support the United States attacks? 97% said we support the US attacking Israel. What, there were like 20,000 voters at the time. And Amanita, thank you so much. And John, thank you. Yeah, I heard about that from Chosi too. Thank you so much for that. And MSW as well. Thank you, Mahmoud. Sharif is going to get Trump's Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe. I mean, he told him he's going to kind of pitch for him, but what does Trump want to know? Does Trump want to create a Nobel Peace Prize now? The Trump Peace Prize, imagine that. Trump calling it the Trump Peace Prize. And Mario Gonzalez, thank you so much, my friend, much appreciated. So they're talking about in Israel now that they're bypassing Netanyahu. So in essence, this can get even more funny than what it already is, guys. I mean, to be honest with you, it's going to be hilarious if Trump went on it. I've heard reports in Israel that have been saying that Netanyahu is worried that Trump is going to bypass him. But if it actually did happen, that would have been huge. But listen, I mean, as we're speaking, I'm hearing about attacks against a sensitive target in Saudi Arabia, electricity cut in Kuwait, attacks on Tel Aviv, electricity in Qatar. I'm not sure what's happening, to be honest with you. Did it not actually go ahead, or did Iran tell them? What did Iran tell them? Yeah, you agree, and then we'll give you the last hit, and you don't respond? If they imposed the ceasefire, they would have imposed a final strike, wouldn't they? They could, easily. Let's see what else is coming in. Attacks towards US assets in the Emirates. Okay, so as we're speaking about the ceasefire, right, and deal and everything, that is Tel Aviv now. So ceasefire, and these are landing on Tel Aviv, and Israel said that on multiple parts too. Is Israel excluded? What's happening? And Philomena and Marvin, thank you again. Gaza, what's back going on? Gvir, Israel project dead. Greater Israel project is dead, yeah. The smaller Israel project is dead. The Israel project is dead. So there is no greater Israel. Now you're going to talk about the smaller Israel. There will be no smaller Israel as we know it, as an apartheid entity. That is on its way down. Rosebud as well, he said there was a huge social media push today to call for Congress, and we are going to continue calling impeach or 25th Amendment. Absolutely, 100%, because there's a public responsibility at the end of that. This man misled so many people who voted for him as an anti-war president. They were chanting "Genocide Joe" in his campaigns because they were protesting against Joe Biden's support for genocide, only for them to see a genocidal president who said everything against war and then made everything pro-war, started so many wars, bloodthirsty individual, and he should be impeached for the crimes he has committed, whether he does or doesn't have a ceasefire. And well done to every American doing that, because it's necessary. That is a responsibility, not only on an individual basis, and it doesn't only relate to the United States of America, it relates to the rest of the world too. Listen, there were arguments from a long time ago that the entire global population should participate in electing the American president because his policies affect the whole world. But seeing as that's happening and affecting American people, I think it's so important to do that, and really well done on everyone doing that. Because he needs to go out. He needs to go out, and he needs to go out immediately. Especially after this historic defeat too. And thank you so much for that. And Susie, many thanks as well. Feyenoord, it's all a facade. Iran knows it can't trust Trump. It's not about trust. With these things, it's not about trust. It's about solid binding agreements and keeping your powerful cards. And Iran did not get rid of any of its cards. Iran still enriches uranium. It's going to be an internationally accepted uranium program. Iran hasn't gone rid of any of its missiles. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they declare that they're a nuclear powered weapons country in the future. Iran will continue its missiles program. Everything, sanctions lifted, secondary and primary. What else do they want? They're going to be charging for the Strait of Hormuz. This is a huge victory, guys. A huge victory for Iran. And it's not about trust. They shouldn't trust Trump. No one who trusts Trump. Do Americans trust Trump? They don't trust him. And if they try and do something else, well, they have the experience now. Iran hammered the living daylight out of them. And that's what they're doing to Israel after the ceasefire. The so-called ceasefire, they're hammering Israel. So I think we need to remember all of these points. And Master Yoda as well, thank you so much for your super, much appreciated. Let's go back to what recent reports are coming in as well in relation to this. Okay, an American source, listen to this, that hasn't come from Israel yet, okay? A U.S. military source official told Al-Mayadeen that the U.S. military strikes on Iran have ceased. They stopped under a 2-week ceasefire agreement. A U.S. official told Al-Mayadeen that Israel has agreed, but we have no confirmation from Israel to a 2-week initiative. But that's not coming from Israel. That's a U.S. official. Israel still hasn't said a word officially. And there you have it. The Iranian victory leads to fall in prices. See what Iran does to you guys. It reduces your prices. Iran's victory is making the cost of living cheaper. Isn't that something worth celebrating? Israeli media, Israel's biggest failure in history after October the 7th. They're admitting now. But October the 7th is still at the top, according to them, Al-Aqsa flood, because territories were liberated temporarily. And these were, look at that, these are the attacks that are just coming now. So again, we can't really see. I mean, again, Trump didn't say anything. Shabazz Sharif said they're allies. It's not really convincing. Trump bypassed Netanyahu and around. It's not convincing what's happening with the Israeli side. And not even breaking news. And now more launches against the south in Israel, they're declaring. So no statement from Netanyahu. Or hold on a second. Wild one, okay? Really wild theory. Here's a really wild theory for you. Did these planes, did the 15 planes that left Israel after that declaration and threat from Trump before the declaration, were these Israeli officials from the government and they're just going to let Israel collapse? What is it? I mean, I'm allowed to speculate before I hear a confirmation. That's just speculation, pure speculation. Did some government officials leave the country and that's it, knowing that America's letting them die on their own? Maybe. And think before you type, thank you. If Iran forced Trump to abandon Israel, that would be the most hilarious outcome. Absolutely. So much for Trump being the first Jewish president. If they do that, Trump, the Americans don't want to have anything to do with them anyway. They've been forcing themselves on the American people like leeches through propaganda and control, overrepresented, overspread in these so many institutions. They're sick of them. And Kim as well, and Dawn, thank you so much. Trump taking break to commit war crimes in Cuba. Yeah, Trump is, nothing makes him good. As in, stopping this doesn't make him good. He's just that, he had a ceasefire or agreement. Kelsey, Mahmoud, it seems like Al-Aqsa negotiated something with Pakistan, but the IRGC didn't get the memo. Could be. Listen, the IRGC is on autopilot mode, but there were statements from the Supreme Security Council in Iran. And the Supreme Security Council in Iran is close to the supreme leader here, because Iran is institutions. There could have been an agreement. There could have been a delay. Maybe, it hasn't been completely coordinated on all levels. We also need to understand how Iran is operating. Iran is operating over 30 hubs, working automatically, by the way. They got orders before the supreme leader was martyred, in case he is martyred, how they need to operate, and they are operating. So that could be the case. But if they're going to be achieving all of their objectives and what have you, then there's going to be some official confirmation there. And we would need to see where the supreme leader himself stands too. That would also be important. So yeah, I mean, in Israel, they're saying that the bombs are still exploding heavily. And see now, this is just a launch now. Dimona. This is the Dimona factories here. There are very strategic assets here, bases, they have nuclear facilities, petrochemical facilities in all of these areas, and they're being attacked now after the declaration of a ceasefire. Nick, the news was announced at the end of my birthday. Happy birthday! Best present ever, Mahmoud. Happy birthday. May all of your birthdays be full of happiness and prosperity. Yeah, that's a very good coincidence. But it looks like the ceasefire isn't applying on the genocide state. I think some people in the IRGC are just too happy that they had their hands free on the trigger with Israel and they don't want to stop. They're like, no way. I've been waiting for this all of my life. I'm not going to stop attacking them now. I'm going to pretend like I didn't get the message. Or they're saying, oh, due to security purposes, we couldn't hear the phone ringing, or we didn't get the message. Mm-hmm. That's probably what the IRGC is doing. God. Okay, this is getting hilarious, all right? Iran is hammering Israel after the ceasefire declaration. I want to share a recent report from Israel with you. Trump declares 2-week ceasefire. Iran launches non-stop at Israel. Did Trump ditch them? Did he tell Iran or Israel is excluded? Was he accepting that? Or what is it exactly? I'm not getting it. That's from Israel now. Iran is launching non-stop attacks at Israel after the ceasefire was declared. They're reporting here that Khamenei approved the agreement, but we didn't officially hear that from Iran. However, for those of you who said the IRGC might be either, it's just the Security Council had the statement too. So there is complete silence in Israel officially about this, and the country is just getting hammered with missiles. Loud explosions heard in the south now, reports. I shared with you some of the recent missiles that were landing non-stop at the genocide state. Even the Israeli media is saying that there's pitch silence. Maybe they left. Maybe they were the ones who were going in the airplanes and that's it. What do you think? I think there's a very good probability that, you know, they left with their airplanes and Iran is launching non-stop attacks at them. And Israel will end by the end of April. Who knows? Ooh, look at that. There's more heavy missiles. My goodness. Have a look at this. Iran is launching unbelievable waves of attacks against Israel after the ceasefire. What is going on? What is happening here? Are they excluded from the ceasefire? What is happening? This is the siren map. These are the missiles. Israel is confirming that they're attacking them non-stop. Non-stop launches at Israel. Something big is happening. Something very big is happening. As in, this is a huge offensive. Look at this. That's the ceasefire on Israel. Look at that. Wow. Look. All of that with a ceasefire. And listen to this as well. Look.
Boy.
Now that's one ceasefire, guys. A ceasefire that doesn't include Israel. Israel is saying also severe impacts, a lot of destruction in some of the landings. Wow, we're witnessing some really historic moments, I'm telling you. The United States surrenders to Iran. Iran achieves a huge victory. The United States accepts Iran's 10 points. Iran doesn't accept any of the American points. Iran imposes its will on the United States. There's a declaration, there are talks in Pakistan. They say Israel is included. No statement from one Israeli official. So far, how many hours have we been talking for? Just almost 2 hours after the declaration, not one statement from single Israeli official. Strikes on every part of the occupied territory, strikes on the north, strikes on the center. Israel is saying that the attacks are non-stop from Iran. Launches non-stop after the declaration of the ceasefire. And there are no attacks against Iran being reported, by the way. What is going on? Is it going to continue like that? Because if it does, then Israel will be wiped off the map. Then that's it. Israel will withdraw from the region. And we will see something very dramatic. Look at that. Don Vito, Iran treating the ceasefire same way Israel does with Gaza. Yeah, that's a way to punish them, yeah. It's all a facade. Again, we'll see. You know, we'll see what happens. But Trump stated that the United States is not attacking. Iran is attacking. Trump declared. Mahmoud, I'm not sure how long. No. It's absolutely. Thank you for your super. The missiles will definitely launch after the announcement of the ceasefire. because Iran's hypersonic missiles, they range between 6 to 7 or 12 to 13. That's with the slower missiles, minutes. But most of the missiles that Iran launches now have a 6-minute journey to reach. It depends on how much the speed is. Is it 5 Mach, 10, 15, 20? So it's 100%. Iran is deliberately launching missiles after the declared ceasefire. And thank you for that, Ariane. He hopes maybe Israel didn't agree to the ceasefire. Maybe. Yeah, that could be an option. Or Bibi had a heart attack upon hearing the news. Oh my God, I can't believe Trump did this to me. I wanted to kill more Iranian children. It's so difficult. That's what Netanyahu is doing. Sarah, bring me the pills. Oh my God. Oh my God, the Hamas. Diane, Trump said, praise Allah to the Supreme Leader and said, go finish the job on the parasite. He was doing that to mock in the beginning. And then I think the threat that came afterwards was planned, in my opinion. He spoke with the Pakistani Prime Minister, told him, I'm going to make the threat. And that's it. Marger, ceasefire does not begin till midnight EST. Iran said, let's listen to what Trump said and what everyone else said. Trump said, complete immediate, opening Strait of Hormuz. This was a double-sided ceasefire. Definitive, we received 2 week on behalf. He's not saying imminent or not. Shabazz Sharif said it's imminent, though. Right? Yeah, Shabazz Sharif said it's effective immediately. That was his post. Effective immediately. So it should have been immediate. And Grandpa of 10, thank you so much for your super, much appreciated. And everyone for sending supers. I'm gonna try and get some information, because this situation with Israel is becoming really funny. You know, Iran is continuously attacking Israel very, very heavily. And no official statements so far. Israeli Broadcasting Authority. No. No official Israeli confirmation yet. The only thing that they are stating here in Israel and all of the Israeli media is that immediately after the announcement of Trump firing from Iran across the country. Listen, I think also Iran was planning a very intense day on the 40th day commemoration of the martyrdom of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And they were like, we're not going to miss this opportunity. It's the 40th commemoration day, and we're going to land meteors and showers on the genocide state, and that's what they're doing. I think that that's something else too. Let alone the fact that Israel didn't declare anything. It could have been a situation where, well, the United States had this agreement behind Netanyahu's back, like what they're stating in Israel. Trump bypassed Netanyahu in a round, the drama. And according to this report, they said that Israel did not want to ceasefire. They wanted him to continue. Nothing. I assume that there could have been something like that. Donald Trump doing something without necessarily telling Netanyahu could be. It could be. May the Alchemist, thank you so much. May such headline, Trump caves to Iran. Absolutely caves in. This is a surrender. This is a total surrender to Iran. And Iran got every 100%. This is exactly what I've been saying. Anyone with an ounce of brain sees that for what it is. Didn't Israel launch bombs at Iran after last ceasefire? No. After the ceasefire and the 12-day war, there was no attack, apart from the war itself. Covert operations maybe, but not like a public attack. And the peace lover forever, he said the entity appears not to have been included. Maybe, listen, Shabazz Sharif said with their allies, without stating Israel. Trump didn't mention Israel in his statement. Statement from Iran also noted, ceasefire only with the USA. Yeah. I'm telling you, this would be huge. If this would be huge. I'm trying to kind of, I always like to get the answers, and I'm not really entirely getting the answers completely now. I'm kind of thinking with you about with the Israeli situation. It's definitely a strategic defeat for the United States, a massive win for Iran. With Israel, what is the situation? Did he do it behind their back? And is Netanyahu going to have to cave in? Is Netanyahu preparing to land a statement that would include some sort of a victory speech? Is he going to downplay it? He said before, let me share that with you. He said before that we will reserve our right to continue attacking Iran if the United States has a ceasefire. We heard that from Netanyahu. Is he going to do that? See, these were some of the recent reports as well. Trump urged Netanyahu against Iran ceasefire. Trump says ceasefire possible if Tehran meets US demands, including handing over enriched uranium. Yeah, in your dreams. They're not handing in anything, dude. You're handing in everything that they want. That was just like on Monday. Prime Minister Netanyahu urged US President not to pursue a ceasefire with Iran at this stage, citing concerns over potential risks. During a phone call on Sunday, Netanyahu expressed reservations about a possible truce with Iran, worrying it could carry strategic risks. So they knew. Trump planned this very carefully, meticulously, so that he can have this post today, this we're going to end their civilization, and then have a ceasefire to make it appear as if Iran wanted the ceasefire rather than him begging for a ceasefire or even talks with Iran for a month. Trump told Netanyahu a ceasefire with Iran would be reached if Tehran agrees to US demands. He reiterated that Washington's requirement, including Iran handing over all of its enriched uranium, yeah, in your dreams, and committing not to resume uranium enrichment in your dreams again. That's not going to happen. The United States doesn't have any demands here. It's Iran that has demands, and it imposed them on the United States of America. Definitely, this is definitely something very, very suspicious here going on between the so-called allies. That's what Israel's been reporting about. Constant attacks against the country. And apparently, according to more reports coming in now, Iran is still attacking. In Israel, they're saying that this is the biggest day of attacks. Against the country. Let's have a look if there are some more videos about this. Because they attacked immediately after the ceasefire so many parts of Israel. And Mequito, thank you so much, much appreciated. And Ehov's Trump posts Iranian statement on his Truth Social looks edited. Which statement? Let me look at this Truth Social for a sec. I so don't like his platform. Oh yeah, he did. He posted Abbas Araghchi's statement. You're right. Let me confirm if that's true or not. Thank you for telling me about that. This is what he posted. So Trump posted this on his Truth Social as if this is the statement of Abbas Araghchi. But let me verify that for you. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to try and see a source for this. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So this is what Trump posted. And this is Abbas Araghchi's account on X. Tehran, 7th April. On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express gratitude and appreciation for my dear brothers, His Excellency Prime Minister of Pakistan Sharif and His Excellency Field Marshal Munir, for their tireless efforts to end the war in the region. In response to the brotherly request of PM Sharif in his tweet, and considering the request by the US for negotiations based on its 15-point proposal, as well as announcement by POTUS about acceptance of a general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal as a basis for negotiations, I hereby declare on behalf of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. For a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible by coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. So there's still technical limitations according to them. That's very important. Yeah, thank you so much for referring that post. Yeah, it's exactly the same one as this is Trump's post. And this is Arashi's post. So they are absolutely the same. This is very important because they also, this note here is very important. We spoke about if the attacks are halted. This is the only quote that I got from it before. But for a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces. So they still need approval, basically, and with due consideration of technical limitations. Technical limitations, we could still be talking about everything that Iran wants in terms of either fees or anything, which was again in line with the statements that came from the Security Council. Selma Peron, thank you. Are we watching the greatest bluff in human history? Yeah, the greatest bluff, that's called Donald Trump. Yeah, he's the greatest bluff in history. But what's for sure is that there's a huge victory here coming from Iran and a massive defeat from the United States. Again, everything that Iran wanted has been achieved. Nothing of what the United States wanted has been achieved. Apart from opening the Strait of Hormuz, but with the Iranian conditions. Iran is charging, Iran's getting the money, the United States will have no combat forces in the region, Israel's still being attacked. They got everything that they wanted. Khalid Razak hoping Samson option is not an option, possibly not, as they're cowards and will make aftermath worse for them. Your thoughts, Mahmoud? I think that the people who have the Samson option have a Samson option to kill their people, but not themselves, right? These are not people who are willing to die. They don't have willingness to die. They want to live. They don't have the same mentality and faith as the Iranian people. It's not the same. They're incomparable. So, yeah, I share that sentence with you, that statement. If they want the Samson option, they'll kill innocent people across the globe, maybe, and some of their civilians. But them, no, they will not take themselves down. They'll go to the safest next island. And Venger, thank you so much for your super, much appreciated. The Israelis are still silent, ladies and gentlemen, and the missiles are still hammering the genocide state after the so-called declaration. I mean, is it only the US and Iran? Strikes non-stop. I'm waiting for a statement. I mean, I want to hear something. Okay, it's getting ridiculous now. In Israel, they're saying the military correspondent for Israel's I-24 is sarcastically speaking and saying, in the future, please announce a ceasefire with a precise timetable, indicating that they didn't know. The only thing that they heard was the post of Shabazz Sharif, who said that it's going to be effective immediately. But the missiles are still hammering Israel. And now they're joking about it in Israel. Here are some of the latest updates. Let's see what the Israel is saying. Israeli Channel 14, what world does this president live in as he promotes this surrender agreement as an achievement? In Israel, they're saying it's a surrender. What is even more worrying is that Israel does not deny this madness, because no one said anything yet. A Shaitzli researcher in the Israeli Institute for Strategic Policy said, if Lebanon is indeed included in the agreement, that would be a significant achievement for Iran. Iran is victorious. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is saying that Shelley Kittleson is out. Okay. The Iranians insisted the ceasefire also includes Lebanon. According to a security source speaking in Israel, that means Lebanon will have a ceasefire too, as Iran requested. Respecting the resistance front, Iran told them, you need to respect the resistance front. No aggression against the resistance. And yeah, they're sarcastically saying in the future, please tell us when is the ceasefire, because missiles are still landing. they didn't know. Oh my goodness. Facilitate, thank you so much. Historic victory against U.S. Western aggression. Thanks for your dedicated updates. Much appreciated, my friend, for being a voice of reason in the fog of war. Always, thank you. With or without war, hopefully. Sharn as well. Mahmoud, Al Jazeera released a short 2 hours ago of the RGC spokesperson saying attacks will not end until the U.S. forces leave. Wow. That's very interesting. I actually haven't heard that. But you know, that would be very interesting, because that means they would tie the points of the ceasefire clauses, the points of the ceasefire, the clauses in the ceasefire agreement, with the implementation. That's interesting, but I mean, that's not what Arakshi said. If attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their decisive operations. Maybe. Well, listen, I mean, actions speak louder than words, right? They're still attacking, and there were attacks on American assets, not just Israel. So perhaps, and maybe the United States is just preparing itself to go out after this. Thank you for pointing that out. I actually didn't have any statements from the IRGC apart from the actual, war statements that they had about the operations. Let's see from some of the Iranian media if they have any sort of... No, yeah, probably go on source, yeah. And again, I'm not sure if, Al Jazeera posted that 2 hours ago, how accurate that would be. It could be sometimes inaccurate too. with some of these reports. But yeah, in Israel, there's a lot of frustration now from what's happening. And again, look at this. These are some of the strategic assets tied with the US and Saudi Arabia. That was just minutes ago. So even with the declaration, Iran is still attacking American assets in the region and Israel. Were there certain things that we did not know about, or is this the 40th day commemoration? I'm telling you, the 40th day is important for them, so they would have a huge attack. And people in Iraq are already celebrating, and lots of celebrations seen in Iran too, following the declaration. Let's have a look if we have some more information coming about these attacks. Listen, we spoke about this potential coordination, right? Premeditated situation. This was posted by the Pakistani Prime Minister before. Draft Pakistan PM's message on X. Diplomatic efforts for peaceful settlement of the ongoing war in the Middle East are progressing steadily, strongly, and powerfully, with the potential to lead to substantive results in the near future. To allow diplomacy to run its course, I earnestly request President Trump to extend the deadline for 2 weeks. Pakistan, that's before the declaration. Draft. You know? Was something else drafted too? Was the second one drafted of the declaration of the ceasefire? Right? A lot of destruction in the southern parts of occupied Palestine following the Iranian missile attack, by the way. Clearly, No ceasefire there. Let's have a look if we have some other videos coming in. There are unconfirmed reports that some websites that belong to Israelis, as in settlers, are asking the Mossad to publish the Epstein files. Can you imagine that? They know the score. Will they try and do that? Of course, came from one account on X. Settler websites demanded the Mossad publish Trump scandals on the Epstein Island. I wouldn't put it past them, because this is how they treat Donald Trump, by the way. And Don Vito, thank you, said Iran is giving Israel the Jewish ceasefire. They're giving them the same ceasefire that they're having in Gaza. Zuri, thank you. If Iran falls for this in 2 weeks, they will suffer badly. Thanks for your detailed breakdown. Well, that's the thing. Their attacks are continuing, although we're not hearing reports of American attacks in Iran. They got what they wanted, technically. We're going to see how it plays out. We're going to see what happens on Friday, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's happening now. Now there are still attacks. Binish, said IDF attacked Iran pet plant after Trump suspended. I didn't hear that. When did that happen? Did they? Let me have a look. No, 10 hours ago. That was the last attack that I heard about from Israel. Let me show you some of the recent videos that are coming in as well. So we can see some also emergency ambulances in Israel following landings in the southern part. And more videos of landings in the central parts. Have a look at this.
חבר'ה, תתרחקו, יש שם חור גדול, תרחקו משם, זה יכול גם ליפול. אנחנו פה שוב בזירות שקראו פתח תקווה. יש פה חניון, שיש פה נפילה. שאתם רואים שגם פה זה מלמד שלא כל חניון הוא קשיר ונותן באמת מענה. אם זה חניון רכבים, רואים שנפל פה למעלה. תתרחקו משם! וחדר פה את ה... לא, אבל פה אתה לא רואה, אתה רואה שזה נפל פה, אין פה משהו.
אולי כן, משהו, אני לא יודע.
לא, אנחנו נבדוק את זה, אתה רואה שפה זה עכשיו 3 בוקר. זה מסוכן, גם חניון, אתה רואה, זה לוחדים כאלה, זה לא נותן באמת מענה. אז זה רק חניונים שאושרו על ידי פיקוד העורף, יותר נכון להיות בהם, בחניונים כאלה זה לא נותן מענה, לפעמים זה יותר גם מסוכן. אז זה דוגמה. יש לנו בעוד כמה אתרים פה באזור, אנחנו בודקים אותם עכשיו, כוחות בשטח, נותנים מענים, ישמע לנו פיקוד העורף, להישאר במרחבים המוגנים, לא להתקרב לאתרים, לא להפעיל כוחות ביטחון לפעול. אם רואים מתקררים, לדווח ל-106, ל-100, 106, אנחנו רואים ניתן מענה. שבשורות.
So that was the damage that was coming from some of the locations in Israel, as Iran isn't stopping the attacks. And again, what Israel is describing as the biggest attack with launches non-stop against Israel following the agreement of the ceasefire. And ladies and gentlemen, we're not hearing anything. Nothing from Israeli officials. Non-stop launches, and that's it. Trump declares a ceasefire, non-stop launches at Israel. No official statement yet. Let's have a look if there are some other breaking news about this now. The churn, Iran negotiating with settler colony. Thank you for that. Using keg spread tactics with bombs. they don't talk to them, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're doing. And again, that's coming from Iran's National Security Council. Washington was forced to accept our 10-point plan. I'm telling you guys, we're seeing, we're living in very historical moments now. Dramatic moments, I'm telling you. Such a huge humiliation for the United States. It's unbelievable. And nothing yet from Israel. Okay, now some media outlets, this is important, this is breaking just now, okay? Some outlets, some media outlets are quoting Iranian media saying that Mujtaba Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, orders a ceasefire. Iranian media reported on Wednesday that the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic, Mujtaba Khamenei, had ordered all military units to cease fire. Were they probably waiting for this moment for him, or are they going to continue attacking? Let's see if they attack after this. So this was published just now. Let's see if there is an actual cessation now from them. But nothing coming from Israeli officials so far. Let's listen to what Joe Kent had to say, the retired director of counterterrorism. He just posted this not long ago on X about the Israelis. Let's have a listen.
Great news this evening that there's been a 2-week ceasefire agreed upon tentatively between us and the Iranians. It's unconfirmed yet if the Iranians have accepted this deal as well, but I hope that they have. It's absolutely essential that we ensure that the Israelis do not sabotage this 2-week ceasefire or eventually the lasting peace that we're trying to achieve with the Iranians. We're on the cusp of being able to have the Strait of Hormuz reopened to hopefully start to get the world energy supply and commerce back online. The last thing we need is the Israelis doing what they have done in past negotiations and targeting the negotiators or taking a series of strikes that escalates the conflict. In order to ensure that we can restrain the Israelis, we actually have to start removing features of the military support that we give to them. We have to take away enough from them that they simply cannot go on the offense, that they're using all their military capabilities that we provide for them and that they have organically for the defense of their country and not for offensive operations inside of Iran. It's absolutely critical that we take this step and don't just take Israel's word for it, that they agree to this ceasefire simply because they have a very bad track record of adhering to these deals. We also have to keep in mind that Israel has a different strategic outcome than we do. Us working towards any kind of a deal with the Iranian government works against the Israeli strategic objectives of toppling this government completely and totally. We have to recognize that in order to properly address Israel, because Israel could spoil any peace that President Trump is working to achieve. So we have to keep that in mind. It's very good news we took this ceasefire. We have to understand that there is no military solution to the conflict right now. Basically, every action militarily that we've taken has only strengthened the regime, and it's done a lot to destabilize the entire region and to take away the security and safety of the free commerce of all of the energy and oil and natural gas that flows out of the region through the Strait of Hormuz. So we have to keep our main objective in mind. It's getting that lasting peace, and we will be the more powerful nation for providing that lasting peace and stability. We will not gain a more powerful position by continuing to escalate the conflict or continuing to strike Iran. In order for us to achieve this goal that we have of bringing about a lasting peace, keeping the Strait of Hormuz open, we have to restrain the Israelis. We have to keep that in mind. So I continue to pray for peace, pray for President Trump, pray for him to have clarity, pray for successful peace negotiations, pray for our men and women downrange in harm's way. Thank you. God bless.
Pray for the American president, more like impeach him. Pray for him. You think God is going to accept prayers or anyone praying for Trump? But anyway, yeah, if they restrict the Israelis, then will that be the end of this? This is what you should have done years ago, right? So that came from Joe Kent. This was also let me share the landing in the southern part of occupied Palestine, the occupied Bir Sab'a area. This was one of the landings over there. And Barbara, thank you so much. And Timothy, Timothy said, if you think Israel has abandoned its plans for Eretz Israel, then you are wrong. Oh no, Israel doesn't abandon its plans. And the Zionists are still there. But it's about what the United States actually does. If they do actually lift some support or had this agreement in opposition to what Netanyahu wanted, which is what the Israelis are suspecting now, right? Did Trump bypass Netanyahu? Then there's going to be something very interesting happening after this. Salma, has Professor Morandi said anything yet? I'm not sure if he said. Let's have a look at his account, see if he said anything. No, the last thing he said is Trump is negotiating with Trump. That's probably before the thing. And he posted this video about the Iranians defying Trump's ultimatum. That was when the ultimatum was there. Yeah, there were several videos about the Iranians defying Trump's ultimatum, and then people were celebrating also. So yeah, guys, we'll wrap it up here for this live stream. A lot of eventful updates, I'm telling you, with this declaration, the ceasefire declaration. We'll see how events unfold. Of course, I'll be with you hopefully tomorrow with another live stream and some videos throughout the day to talk about everything. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in for another long live stream this time. Everyone who participated in the chat, thank you so much. Everyone who sent supers, much appreciated. Victory for Iran and the resistance over Zionism and the Epstein cult. The empire was defeated. And we'll be here tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Stay blessed. Enjoy the rest of your evening, night, or day, depending where you are. And I will see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone. Salam. Right now, misinformation spreads faster than facts, especially on the most sensitive global stories. NVP uses uncensored AI analysis to verify the most controversial topics and separate signal from propaganda in real time. Instead of guessing who to trust, you can see structured verification and analysis behind every major issue.
I'm